I've always thought that illustrations of politicians, specifically those found in political cartoons, can tell us a lot about not only their physical appearance, but also the artist's personal feelings towards a given figure. In this video, I'll be badly drawing a few world leaders and political figures from memory alone, meaning hopefully my personal feelings about each individual will fill in the gaps. Okay, so let's get started on the first caricature. Don't expect big things from the first one, or really any of them, to be completely honest. So what I'm doing right now is adding a bunch of crazy hair, basically. I'm sure a few people are popping into your head. Now this is starting to look like a wet raccoon, which isn't what I'm going for, but might be later on in this video. Okay, I think that will do for now. Let's move on to the eyes. Now in illustrations of this particular person, I always see the eyes kind of close together. Tends to have quite a big smile. He's kind of a jolly figure. Let's add a bit of a chin, but not too defined. I think we need a bit more volume to the hair, and then I'll call it there. Now, I'll be honest with you, this isn't my greatest work, and hopefully we'll see it improve across the video. But this, I hope you can tell, is Boris Johnson. Okay, let's move on swiftly from that one and get started on our next politician. Okay, I can't imagine you've got any guesses so far, but hopefully it will become a little clearer. In caricatures of this person, similar to Johnson, I also remember seeing some pretty weak, almost prey eyes, probably illustrating a weak position, but also sort of rosy cheeks, bizarrely, like he's been caught out unprepared, which some would say is probably emblematic of his position as Prime Minister. I've given away something there. Let's add a bit of hair, some forehead wrinkles, because he's not the youngest. And actually, I almost forgot, he is now a frequent wearer of glasses. Let's see if we can add those on. Wasn't always, though. That's been a relatively new addition to his profile. Not sure I've quite nailed the frames there, but let's just make them a bit thicker. Hopefully that helps. I'm not sure it did, but hopefully you can tell that that is the current Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. Okay, moving on. Got to say, these aren't turning out too well so far, but hopefully we can get one or two good ones going forward. This is another one where I'm going to start out with the hair, or what's left of it. It's quite thin, but also almost substantial, if you know what I mean. So let's not add too much volume to that. Add some angry brows, because this is often how he is portrayed. Then let's add some squinting eyes. Okay, this is coming together. Start on the nose. There's a nose. It's not a very big part of the caricature of this person, but I think what I'm about to attempt really is. So let's get started on some lips. Add some wrinkles once again. Not the youngest person, to say the least. Lots more wrinkles. Started on the chin, one of quite a few. Make sure it's not particularly defined though. Let's make that hair come down a little bit more. Really got to be careful not to add too much of it, as it is hanging on for dear life. Don't want to add too many wrinkles to the side of his face. Don't want to make him look gaunt, because he definitely is not. Just add another chin or two down there. And there we go. I'm actually very happy with that. I'm sure I don't even need to say the name of who this person is. I think the hair and the mouth gives it away. It was tempting just to do like a side profile, and then you could get the swoop in the hair more exaggerated, and sort of the lips would come out as well. But I'm actually happy I went with this, because it was the less easy route, but I think I'm still in recognizable territory. Okay, next one. Okay, starting out with the hair once again, it's yet another very recognizable mane. It's not a hairstyle you'd probably seek to replicate, but more so one created by the stress of the job, or genetics, as it looks to be receding quite a bit in certain areas. Really comes down in the middle here, and sort of thins out everywhere else. Right, now let's leave quite a bit of forehead and add some wrinkles in there. Again, like most politicians, not particularly young. Move on to the eyes. Now I'm going to be careful here, because he is often portrayed with those sort of prey eyes, but also very angry and defiant. So maybe the prey eyes are a sort of physical attribute, but the brows are more a representation of his character, and they're very thick brows. And moving on to the nose, this is less so a physical attribute, even though it is kind of there. This very long, pointed nose, almost upturned at the end, which probably seeks to portray some sort of dishonesty, which would cause the end of this person's political career. A very uptight, closed mouth as well. Now the lower part of his face, moving on to sort of the jaw area, is also very recognizable, and an insecurity for this figure. Unsurprisingly so, I mean, look at that. It's probably not quite as pronounced as that, but this is a caricature after all. Just as I add some of the final details, hopefully you can start to see who this is. Maybe you did already, hopefully, if my drawing was good enough. But this is Richard Nixon, a very hated and controversial figure that has sort of seen a resurgence on the right of the Republican Party, with the former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy sort of leading that charge. But history does not remember him well, and you can sort of tell that through the caricatures of him. Okay, moving on. Now I'm struggling for really how to start on this one, but I do remember he has sort of a collapsed chin almost at the bottom. It sort of dips in his old age. And if we're going for an older version of him, we should probably project this sort of sullen look on his face. The nose is also not really a defined feature of this person. Then we can also add in some small, vulnerable eyes here. Got quite a long face, a very exposed forehead, given many years of hair loss. Add in a bunch of wrinkles there, very old character, and some thin hair. But it's still there in some capacity. Give him some thin brows as well. Don't want to make him look too powerful. Let's add some more wrinkles. Again, very old. Big issue of his campaign. And there we have it. I hope you can tell that's Joe Biden. I think I've done a good job on the facial expression, but I probably would have given him a bigger forehead and less hair if I could go back in time. But I'm relatively happy with that one. Okay, let's continue. This is definitely less of a political figure, but still someone who's been caricatured plenty of times. And I'm actually choosing to start out with the ears here. Definitely a very defining feature. Sort of narrow, long face. Rather close together eyes. Another rosy-cheeked individual. And I think adding this final element should give it away, if it hasn't already. I'm attempting to draw some sort of crown on his head. It's not going too well. But hopefully this looks a bit like the current British monarch, King Charles III. Definitely could have done with exaggerating his features a bit more. But I'm not too displeased with that. Next up. Now this person has a very defining feature, which I'm going to leave till last, just so I can keep you guessing. But I believe he has sort of a mole there. Definitely a sort of beard at the bottom. Fairly large nose, that works. Another large-eared individual. Let's add some brows. Quite substantial brows, if I remember correctly. And I'm not quite sure when to stop with the facial hair. I'm pretty sure he does not have a mustache, at least. Let's add some hair there. And finally, the defining feature. I'm sure you've already guessed who it is, maybe you did, in the facial hair. This is Abraham Lincoln. Add some final touches there, make him look a bit older, maybe even gaunt. And there you have it. Pretty happy with that one. I think that's kind of recognizable. But the hat is kind of a cheat. But the face alone, I think that's pretty good. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. And also let me know what you thought of my drawings in the comments. I'm happy to admit most of them were not very good, but definitely got better towards the end. Anyway, thank you for watching. See you next time.